Hello and welcome to the first Faith at Home Going Deeper video. Now, for those of you who don't know what Faith at Home is, it's a Church of England initiative set up where they're going to look at a different theme every week. And Nikki's picked this up with doing a family style thing already, but we thought it'd be really good if we could follow that up with something deeper. Now this is week 2 already. Nikki did Hope in the first week and looked at Noah's Ark, but that was a week ago and I think that ship sailed. So we're going to come straight in with this week's, which is a theme of courage. And Nikki looked at David and Goliath, which was a video she shared on Monday. If you've not seen it, go check it out. But we just thought it'd be good to just go a little bit deeper into that story. So if you've not read the story of David and Goliath in the Bible before, it's a great read. It can be found in 1 Samuel chapter 17, but I'm going to look a little bit at David's background, which actually starts at chapter 16. But if you're not ready before, you can pause this, go read it and come back when you're ready. For those that aren't so good with the Bible, it's about here in it, so towards this side, but not right at the front. So yeah, you can do that now. But I like the story of David and Goliath. I like his backstory, and I think that's just so key to the actual story of David and Goliath. You see, quite often we just hear the story of David and Goliath and ignore what got David to that point. You see, in chapter 17, it so opens, David was the youngest of 8 brothers in total, and actually his job was out in the field being a shepherd, which wasn't seen as much whatsoever. David was, the runt of the litter, and I think that is, that part of this David story is so key to David and Goliath. But I just want to share another story with you. When I was reading this, I couldn't help but think of The Karate Kid, which is a great 80s film if you've never seen it before. But what struck me about The Karate Kid is, he gets beat up and promised that he'll be good at karate one day. And he goes around to this sensei's house who's promised to teach him. And, the sensei starts by telling him to polish his car, wax on, wax off, and then paint his fence. Just tasks that have seemingly nothing to do with what he's actually been promised. And actually the kid gets pretty annoyed with him. So, you taught me around here to learn karate and all you've done is have me paint your fence. And then there's a big scene where it all comes together, all the things he's been showing him have been useful, and, the wax on and wax off is blocking punches, and in the end he ends up being this amazing karate kid, and he wins this big fight at the end, and you come away from this film thinking, you know what, I want to be a ninja one day, I want to be great at karate, and then you go home and you realise you can't even be bothered to paint your own fence. And you want to be a karate kid, but to put the work in to get there, it's just something that you probably haven't even got the time to do. And I think, the story of David and Goliath, a lot of what I've just said is actually within that story as well. You see, quite often we can come and read the story of David and Goliath, and we can come away from it thinking how amazing that was, that David had the courage to fight Goliath, and that we want to be a champion for God, and that we want to fight giants. We want to have that sort of courage, but actually ignore everything that got David to that point. You see, in the time when David was being a shepherd, David was actually being perfectly prepared for the task of beating Goliath. You see, we read in chapter 17, verse 34, that David, when he was a shepherd, was fighting off lions and bears. And although, he gives the glory to God for that, because God did deliver him from that, what better training could David get than fighting off lions and bears? It wasn't some holy stone that flew through the air. David had been perfectly equipped to do the task God had called him to do. So we ignore that David was perfectly equipped by God, and we ignore that actually, earlier on, David's described as a man after God's own heart. And in chapter 16, it makes a point that actually God looks at his heart. So the two things that we can miss about David when we think, yes, we want to go on and fight giants, is one, he was a man after God's own heart. He'd spent time in those fields, really getting to know God, really singing his praises. And secondly, he'd been perfectly equipped for it in doing that task. He was anointed king at a really young age. He was told he was going to become the king of Israel, yet still he went back to being a shepherd for several years after that. But in that, he was perfectly prepared and perfectly equipped to do the job God had called him to do. I just think that's amazing, because although, you might say it takes away from the miracle of David killing Goliath, but actually, the real thing is actually God's perfect plan and perfect preparation in David's life. God had perfectly prepared him all the way from being the youngest son born, the runt of the litter, to become this great king, to go on and kill Goliath. So what I really like about this story is God's provision in David's life. And I think that's what allowed him to be courageous, and that's what allowed him to fight Goliath. It wasn't a on-the-day decision, let's go out there and fight a giant. It was based on the fact that David knew God. God had delivered David in the past, and God had perfectly equipped David for the task. So if we want to be courageous, if we want to fight giants, I think we need to follow in that footstep, that we need to allow God to equip us for the task, even if it's through remedial things. And we need to get to know God better. I'm going to leave you with a song that Elaine and Steve did a few weeks ago called Heart of Worship. And just as we sing it, just be great to come back to the fact that actually it is all about knowing God. It's all about having a God-centered life that allows us to be courageous. Amen.
When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth, that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within than the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it, when it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. King of endless worth, no one could express how much you deserve. When I'm weak and poor, all search much deeper within than the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. When it's all about you, when it's all about you. When it's all about you. When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come. When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply